were just talking about the future of the Pittsburgh Steelers at quarterback, and Mike Tomlin said all options are on the table for them in this team. Now, I was kind of posing it. What type of dilemma do you think the Steelers have here? Because there's options you can try to trade for one of these quarterbacks that could become available via trade this offseason. Or do you think the Steelers would be better suited looking at this year's NFL draft? In more particular, there's also a guy from Pittsburgh that people are talking about, Kenny Pickett. He's got some swagger to him as well. What do you think the Steelers should do with the quarterback position entering this offseason?
Yeah, it's funny. I know a lot of Steelers fans, a lot of people that cover the Steelers wanted Matt Canada to be fired, to not be retained, and for them to go a new direction there. I think they kept him around because they know next year is going to be a rebuild year for them. I really do. I mean, if you're going into next season with Mason Rudolph and Dwayne Haskins as your two guys, no matter what you thought about Dwayne Haskins coming out of the NFL draft, you cannot feel that same way about the prospect now. Now that you've seen him for a couple of seasons, seen that he has not progressed, seen some of the off-field stuff that he has gotten into, you really can't count on him to be your guy. You've seen more than enough from Mason Rudolph at this point to know without a shadow of a doubt that he is not going to be a starting NFL quarterback. So you're going into next season understanding that you are going to tank and try to get your guy moving forward. Now, the Pittsburgh Steelers are the most the franchise that changes the least and doesn't need to change at all. So for me, this is a team that is going to allow Mike Tomlin, hopefully, to go through this rebuild season, understand what is going on. He has never had a losing season. We've talked about that a million times. And for him, honestly, to not have a losing season this year with no offensive line, with bottom tier quarterback play, with wide receivers who are talented but distracted at times, with a secondary that did not perform up to standard. It is really incredible that they were able to go 9-7-1 this year and make it to the playoffs anyways. And so for me, he was my pick for Coach of the Year. I understand that people picked Mike Vrabel, and I felt like he was more than deserving of that title as well. But for me, allow Mike Tomlin to fail next year. Allow them to get one of the top picks. Allow them to go out and get one of those guys, either Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, whoever is at the top of the quarterback list next year. But if Kenny Pickett's there when they decide to pick towards the end of the first round, if they like him. Now, Kenny Pickett is a bit of an interesting prospect because he will literally be in the 0th percentile in hand size. And I know that we kind of scoff at hand size a lot of the times, but when you are a literal 1 of 1 in that aspect on the wrong side of things, it's going to make NFL teams question. And so I'm really interested to see where he ends up going. I think that he had a fantastic senior season in Pittsburgh, and obviously there is that local tie. But I don't know if he's the type of quarterback that Pittsburgh is looking for. Now, he might be because he's a little bit like an elevated version of Mason Rudolph, somebody who is going to be a pocket passer, but he can create a little bit more. It doesn't have a huge arm, but it's big enough. And so it'll be really interesting to see what quarterbacks in this class we hear whispers of Pittsburgh really liking, because when I think of Pittsburgh, I think of the guys like Matt Corral. I think of the guys like Desmond Ridder out of Cincinnati, who is also, Cincinnati's, somewhat local to Pittsburgh as well. Those big-armed guys who can move around a little bit, make plays. The guys that remind me a little bit more of a younger Ben Roethlisberger. So it's just going to be super interesting to see where they go with it.
Oh, yeah, and we had a Pro Football Network NFL draft analyst Ian Cummings on yesterday's episode, PFN Weekly, and one name that he even threw out there, too, maybe Carson Strong, kind of has a similar body build to a guy like Ben Roethlisberger.